Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing an end of the year makeup declutter. I had originally thought about taking you guys with me through all of my makeup drawers and makeup collection and things like that to declutter with me, but the other day I was in a super decluttering spirit or mood, so I just went through my collection on my own without filming it, and I grabbed out everything in my collection that I want to get rid of. Lately I've been feeling super overwhelmed by my makeup collection, and sometimes when that happens I feel like I don't shop my stash or utilize much in my makeup collection. I just fall into using the same products every single day, and that's stupid because I have a pretty healthy size makeup collection, but if I'm not getting use out of anything except for a few products, then what's the point? So my goal in 2019 is to just get more use out of my makeup collection in general, but I have a box full of goodies here that I just feel don't need to make the trip into 2019 with me. These are things that just no longer serve a purpose in my makeup collection for whatever reason, and if you guys are interested in hearing those reasons why and seeing all of the products that I've decided to declutter out of my makeup collection, then just keep watching. So I did recently post an eyeshadow palette declutter as well as a lipstick or lip product declutter, so if you guys are interested in those, I'll leave those linked down below. But I don't really have any sort of eyeshadow palettes in here, and I have just a couple lip products I've decided to also declutter on top of everything I decluttered in my previous lip product declutter video. But the majority of the items in here are going to be concealers, bronzer, blush, highlight, all other products like that. So let's just jump in. I actually have some brushes that I've decided to declutter, so we can start with those. I didn't declutter mini brushes. For some reason I really have an issue decluttering brushes. I just feel I find a reason in my head that I need all of my brushes, but I am going to be decluttering the Morphe B30 brush. This just doesn't work for me. It feels like a really cheap brush, and I never use this. I also have a Morphe 441 that is just really old and needs to go. I have two of the little Dose of Colors brushes that comes in their 5-pan eyeshadow palettes, and I just never reach for these, so those are going to go. I have this Sonia Kashuk sponge tip brush that I also just never reach for. I have the Urban Decay electric brush. I don't even have the Urban Decay electric eyeshadow palette anymore, but I have the brush that came with it, and again I just never reach for that. I also have this crown brush that I got in some sort of subscription box. Never reach for this, don't really have a use for it, gonna get rid of it. And then finally I have this Estetica P12 brush that feels super soft and nice, and I considered keeping this as a potential bronzer brush, but I just have my Morphe R2 that I always reach for bronzer. So I feel I don't need this. We're just gonna get rid of it. So those should be all of the brushes that I'm getting rid of, and everything else is just randomly scattered throughout the box, so I'll try and keep it as organized as possible, but I'm sure I'll miss some products and we'll have to jump back and forth. But I am going to be getting rid of this NYX color correcting concealer palette. I really liked this for a long amount of time, and actually if you can see I actually have hit pan in this green shade. I forgot to include this in my products that I hit pan on, but I haven't used this palette at all this year, and in fact this palette is probably getting close to about 2 years old, and the shelf life on this is 12 months. Again, I never reach for this or use this anyways, so I'm just going to be getting rid of this. I have 5 other concealers that I'm going to be getting rid of. 2 of them are from LA Girl. They're the Pro Conceal. One is a mini that I got in some sort of subscription box. This is way too dark for me. This is in creamy beige. And then I also have one that I purchased for myself in light ivory, which is also just way too yellow toned and dark for me. And I believe this is the lightest shade. Yeah, that's just not going to work for me, so, and I never reach for it, so I'm getting rid of that. Then I also have this Unique Mineral Touch Skin Perfecting Concealer. This is just super old, and the shelf life on this is 24 months, but I'm pretty sure I've had this over 2 years. I think I got this in 2016, maybe April-ish, so it's 2.5 years old. It's also one of the concealers that's, you squeeze it out and you have to use a brush with it. It's getting hard to squeeze out. The consistency on this has changed. I never reach for this. This is old. It's gotta go. Then I also have my Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer that's really old. I got this probably 2 years ago as well, and this I believe only has a 9-month shelf life. Yep, and this also is way too dark for me. I don't know what I was thinking when I purchased this. I got it in the shade Medium Light. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but way too dark for me. And then finally I have this Maybelline Fit Me Concealer, which I'm really bummed about. I got this in the lightest shade, And there it is swatched right there if you can see, and it's just too dark for me, too yellow toned, it just doesn't work for me. I really do like the formula on this, but the shade unfortunately just does not work, and I'm unable to get a lighter shade. So those are the 5 concealers that I am getting rid of in my collection. I always end up putting my straightener or like leaving it on my desk for my videos, so we're gonna get that out of frame. For bronzer, I think I only got rid of 1 bronzer, and it is this Temp 2 liquid bronzer that I got in some sort of subscription box. There's a couple other bronzers that I'm on the fence about, but anything that I was on the fence about decluttering, I set aside, and I want to do like a full face of products I'm considering decluttering, so keep an eye out for that video. But this is, first of all, probably way too dark for me, and I believe the consistency on this has changed. I don't think I've tried this even once, but the consistency just looks different in this bottle than when I originally got it. Oh my gosh. But I just don't have a use for this in my collection, so I'm getting rid of this. Oh, I do have one more bronzer. This is from Bronze Essentials. This is their Beauté Basics bronzer, and it's almost like a bronzer highlight. I again got this in some sort of subscription box, and this is again something that I've like swatched but never actually even tried on my skin. I don't know, I feel like this is one that like I've wanted to try, but I just feel like I haven't reached for this in like the 1.5 years that I've had it, so there's probably no use in keeping it. Then I have 4 different blushes that I'm going to be getting rid of. The first is this Makeup Revolution, the matte blush in Beloved. Looks like this. It's just like a super light pink blush. And I used to reach for this all the time, but I just never reach for this anymore. I don't really love the shade, and it just isn't a favorite of mine, so don't need this in my collection anymore. Next, I have this really old Clinique blush, and I don't know if you can tell, but like my dog got a hold of this and chewed this. This actually got a ton of use out of, I got a ton of use out of this at one point. It is actually a really, really pretty blush color, but I'm pretty sure this is like at least 5, 6, 7 years old. So this is incredibly old. What is the shelf life on this? I can't even find the shelf life. Anyway, this is in the shade Sunset Glow, but I don't think I've reached for this in like 2 to 3 years, so super old, never reached for it, gotta go. Next up, this was a hard decision, but I am going to get rid of the Pixie and Aspen Olvard blush in Rome Rose. I just never reached for this blush, and it's a little bit too shimmery for me. Like, this is almost more of like a blush. Oh, it is so pretty. Like a blush topper. I don't know if you'll even be able to see it swatched, but it has a lot of like shimmer to it. So I just never reached for this, and I'm going to get rid of it. And then finally, I have this blush from Bang Beauty that I got in a subscription box, which is very similar to the Pixie one, but it's just like a little bit more like orangey pink. Again, I don't know if you'll be able to see these swatched, but again, very shimmery and just not a blush that I reach for. I typically tend to prefer matte blushes, so I don't really have a use in my collection for a lot of shimmery blushes, so this one can definitely go. I have a couple of powders. I have this Cougar powder that I again got in a subscription box of some kind. This is in Diamond Kiss. This is actually a body shimmer. Okay, that makes more sense. But this is super clumpy, and I feel like this is potentially gone bad, and it's very yellow toned. It would be pretty as like almost like as a body highlight in the summer, but I don't know, again, if you'll be able to see it swatched. I've never reached for this, never used it, so this can go. And then I also have a really, really old MAC pressed powder in NW20. As you can tell, I hit pan on this. I also forgot to include this on products I hit pan on, but this is so old, like I probably hit pan on this maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. So again, this is just a product that's been sitting in my collection for way too long. I don't think I've reached for this in probably 5 years, so it can go. So going into this declutter, I didn't think I'd get rid of any highlights, but I actually am getting rid of 6 highlights, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that. The first is my just little mini Becca Opal. I'm not a huge fan of Becca Opals, so I'm just gonna get rid of this. Next, I have this baked highlighter from DLS that I got in a subscription box, a lot of subscription box stuff. And this is just way too gold tone for me. I never use this, never have, so that can go. Then I have the NYX Duo Chromatic Illuminating Powder in the shade Lavender Steel, which is kind of a dupe. It's a little bit more purpley than the Becca Prismatic Amethyst, but I have the Becca Prismatic Amethyst, and anytime I want like a purple duochrome highlight, I reach for that over this. I haven't reached for this in over a year, so that tells me I don't need it. And then I have this Milani highlighter. This is one of the Hypnotic Lights highlighters in Luster Light. This is just too powdery of a highlight for me. I don't love it, and it does have a bit of a duochromatic shift to it. It's like a peachy golden highlight, and I just never reach for this. Probably never will. I have other highlights that are similar in tone to this that I prefer the formula to if I do want to use a highlight in this shade, so I don't have a need for this anymore. Then I have the Too Faced Candlelit Glow highlighter, and this is one of the first highlighters that I purchased, so this has been in my collection for like probably 3 years. As you can tell, if you can see, the like imprint on this is worn down quite a bit, so I used to get a ton of use out of this, specifically more on this more champagne side, and it is a really pretty champagne highlight, but it reminds me a lot of the Mary Luminizer highlight from the Balm. I'm actually curious. How close they are in tone. Super close. This one's just a little bit more white based, and this one is a little bit more golden based, but I haven't reached for this in probably over a year as well, so that tells me that I no longer need this in my collection. And then I never thought I'd see the day where I got rid of a Becca like full-size shimmering skin perfector, but this is in Prosecco Pop, and this is just again like too golden toned for me, so it's just a little bit too dark for me. So I know that I'm sure there's somebody out there who can get better use out of this than me, and I'm going to pass this one along. Okay, like I said, I recently did a lipstick declutter, so I have just a few lip products to share with you guys. As I've been like sifting through my lipstick collection and trying to like get more use out of it, I found that there's formulas that I just really don't like anymore, or probably never really liked, and I've been trying to just declutter those so I have a more curated collection. So first I have this Kat Von D liquid lipstick in Bow and Arrow, and I got this in a subscription box, and unfortunately I think that there might be mold, and I could be very wrong. It just looks like there is potentially mold on the applicator because it looks super dark. I actually really do like the Bow and Arrow shade, but I'm not willing to risk putting mold on my lips. Oh, it's such a pretty shade, but I do have the Studded like Kiss lipstick in this too, so if I want to wear the shade Bow and Arrow, I do have that opportunity. Next from Milani, another Hypnotic Lights product. This is a lip topper, and this is just way too gritty of a formula for me, and I just don't really like sparkly lip toppers. This is in the shade Luminous Light, and as you can tell, it's like just a super glittery lip topper, so don't really enjoy that. I'm going to be getting rid of both of my Jouer liquid lipsticks that I have in my collection. These are old and have gone bad, and I never really cared for the Jouer liquid lipstick formula that much. I had mine in the shade Melon as well as the shade Bon Bon, and the reason I've kept these around for so long is because I really enjoyed the shades of both of them. Bon Bon has really gone bad, this red one. And then this is Melon. I love the shades, but don't prefer the formula, so I'd rather just find similar shades and formulas that I like. Next up, I actually still have the packaging for this. I just didn't end up liking the shade on this, but I like waited too long and am unable to return it at this point, I believe. It's just like too orangey toned. This is one of the Too Faced Natural Nudes, and this is in Birthday Suit. There it is right there. So I'm just literally never going to get use out of this because I don't really enjoy the shade. And then this is a Smashbox Always On liquid lipstick. I actually really like this liquid lipstick formula as well as this shade, but this has gone bad on me. This is in the shade Big Spender. There it is right there. It's just like a really pretty like mauve toned berry. Loved this one, but unfortunately it did go bad. I wish I was able to get more use out of this, which is why I'm trying to curate my collection a little bit more so I get more use out of products and don't let things go bad. Next up, I have a few brow products. First, I have the IT Cosmetics Brow Powder Universal Pencil in Taupe. I swear I got this in a subscription box because I got this so many times in a subscription box. And it's an okay pencil. Mine just like this has gone bad. Like I can barely get any pigment when I try and swatch it. So I don't think I got any use out of this because I have like 2 other ones still in my collection. So this is going in the trash. Then I have this e.l.f. brow pencil that I use like 1 to 2 or maybe 3 times, and I just hate the formula on this. It just wasn't good in my opinion. I don't know why I'm showing you a swatch, but I don't like this. I'm never going to reach for it and not use it, so I'm going to get rid of this. And then I also have this micro brow pencil from Maybelline, which I actually do really like, but unfortunately, well, maybe this hasn't gone bad. I don't know. I like tried to use it the other night and it just like broke off on me, so I thought it had dried out. Regardless, I'll probably just end up buying another one of these. I have a couple of eyeshadow primers. First, I have the Lorac Behind the Scenes eye primer. I got this little mini when I bought one of the Lorac palettes, but I just never really reached for eyeshadow primer like this, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then I have this Unique eye primer, and I've had this in my collection for probably 2.5 years. It has a 24-month or 12-month shelf life, so I never reach for this either, so it can just go. One more brow product. This is the Brows in Taupe by Model Launcher, which I'm pretty sure I got in some sort of subscription box, like I keep saying, and this is just completely dried out, so that is going to go in the garbage as well. Next up we have eyeliners, and actually I'm getting rid of quite a few. I recently did like an eyeliner declutter probably around Halloween time, and I just like didn't include, like I just got rid of a bunch, and now I'm getting rid of a bunch more. First, I have my 2 NYX jumbo pencils in white and black. I just need to buy new ones of these. These are old. Then I have this old NYX Vivid Brights liquid liner, and this has gone bad. This was like in a purple shade that I never used anyway. Then I have this old Sephora eyeliner in this like aqua shade. I'd need to sharpen it if I was going to swatch it, but I just never reach for this. I don't typically reach for eye pencils anymore just because they never stay in my waterline, which is usually what I want to use them for. So I just always like default back to like gel liners and ColourPop's like my go-to. I have another NYX pencil. This is one of the NYX Faux Whites, and this is in Mint Cream. Shoot, I would need to sharpen this if I want to swatch it too. It's like a really light blue. Again, I never reach for this, and it's really old, so just need to get rid of it. And then I also have this NYX Liquid Crystal in Crystal Pink. Ooh, that's still super pretty, but I just never reach for shades like this or glitter liners, so I'm just going to get rid of this. And then finally I have this Maybelline Line Stiletto liquid liner, and this is just like not a precise tip at all, and I already suck at liquid liner, so like I just can't. It is very, very black though, and perhaps I like ruined my tip or something, but this is something I never reach for, so this I just don't have a use for. Shoot, I have one more brow product. This is from NYX. This is their Tinted Brow Mascara, and for me this was just, first of all, the spoolie on this was just too big for like a tinted brow gel. I would like it to be a little bit more fine so I could be a little bit more precise with this. And then I also just did not like the way that this performed. I didn't like the shade of this. There was just really nothing about this that I liked, so I don't need it anymore. I'm also getting rid of this sample of the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. This is in the shade Y415. I got this in a subscription box, and this was just way too dark for me, so I'm not going to use it. And then finally, you guys, we're down to my single shadows and pigments, and I tried to be really picky about what I did keep. I probably kept more than I needed to, go figure, but I'm actually surprised that I'm getting rid of some of the things that I am. I have I have one MAC pigment in the shade Soft Wash Gray, and then I also have a MAC glitter in Reflex Pearl. I just never reach for pigments or glitters, so I really don't have a use for these. It's a bummer because I barely got any use out of these. I don't even know if I've used these one time, but nevertheless, I'm getting rid of them. And then I also have a NYX glitter that I've never used. I don't know why I buy glitters because I definitely never use loose glitters. I have this really old L'Oreal Infallible eyeshadow. I used to be obsessed with this. This was like all I wore. This is in the shade Iced Latte, and I have a second one of these that I am keeping, but this one is like just too old. But it's just this really beautiful like white champagne shiny shade. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I used to wear this all over my eyes with like MAC satin taupe in my crease. I don't know what I was doing with my makeup at that time, but that was like my go-to look. So it was super hard to part with this, but again, I still have one in my collection, and I'd be really interested in trying these, like buying some of their other shades in this and trying these today. I'm also getting rid of this MAC Extra Dimension shadow in Rich Core. It's this really beautiful purple, but this has dried out and honestly like fallen out of the pan, and I never reach for this, so there's really no purpose in me keeping it. Plus, I mean, the formula I feel like isn't like it used to be, but it's a really beautiful shade. I'm also getting rid of this Bare Minerals Sugar Plum pigment. This is like a loose pigment. Again, I just hate loose pigments, and this is just not a shade I'm going to reach for either. I'm also getting rid of this single shadow that I don't even know where it's from or where I got it. It doesn't have like a name on the back or anything, but it doesn't perform well at all, and it's just like a champagne shade that I'm sure I have a million times in my collection. Okay, I'm also getting rid of this Makeup Forever Artist shadow. I just never reach for this little mini guy. I think I got this as like 100-point perk, and it doesn't have like the best pigment payoff or anything like that either, so I am totally fine getting rid of that. I've never reached for it, and I probably had it over a year. Then I'm getting rid of this Cargo shadow in Shanghai because this is just a shade I am never personally going to reach for. It is a really beautiful purple shade, but I haven't reached for this since I had it, and I don't see myself reaching for it. I also have another like huge MAC pigment that I'm getting rid of. I've had this in my collection for so long. Oh geez. And again, I just like never reach for pigments. It's like a super pretty pigment, but I never reach for these, so I'm going to get rid of this. I'm getting rid of my MAC single shadow in the shade Tracks. This is like a purpley gold shade. I used to be really into purples. I still am, but like, I don't know what I was thinking back in the day. And the pigment on this just isn't what it used to be anymore. So getting rid of that. I'm also getting rid of the MAC single shadow in the shade Night Divine. Ooh. That's really patchy now. Yeah, this is just old. I have this LA Splash pigment, which is actually really pretty, but again, I just literally hate pigments. They're so messy. But this is really pretty. Dirty Green Gold shade. And then finally, the last item that I'm getting rid of is this Urban Decay single shadow in the shade Dive Bar. And I was so excited when I originally purchased this, but this just didn't perform how I wanted to when you actually used it on the eye. It's like this purpley blue shade. I've reached for this one time. I wore this 2 New Year's ago on like my lower lash line, and like that's the only time I've ever used it. So I thought about keeping this because I remember how excited I was to buy this. Like I had swatched this in store, gone home, kept thinking about it, and then came back and made like a special trip to buy this, and then I was just so disappointed by this shade. So it pains me to get rid of this, but I never use it, so I'm getting rid of it. And then after that, you guys, those are all of the items that I decided to declutter from my makeup collection. You guys will have to let me know what products you've been decluttering as we get towards the end of the year. I don't know, is it just me, or like does the end of the year get you in like a decluttering mood? If it does, let me know what products you have decided to declutter from your collection recently. I love hearing from you guys. Other than that, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, don't forget to do so before you go, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.